Welcome to the Krystal Clear Life Podcast. Hey there, I'm Krystalore Crews, your host and CEO of Crews Beyond Limits. I'm here to bring you clarity, confidence, and connection. Life's twists and turns are inevitable, but together we will embrace the chaos and live a more fulfilling life. So put your seatbelt on, it's a wild ride. Get ready for inspiring stories, actionable tips, and a whole lot of fun. Let's dive in and make each day crystal clear. Come with me. Hey, my friends. Welcome to the Krystal Clear Life Podcast, where we bring clarity, confidence, and connection into your life. Welcome to episode 3. This is where we're going to go from chaos to clarity. And life is chaotic, my friends. And y'all know we're being pulled and pushed in 12 million different directions. And life as we know it is going to get thrown at us. And there are many times in my life where life happened. Life just happened. Now, I have been through life stressors, pressures, illness, injury, cancer, wheelchair, you name it. There have been so many times in my life that literally, if you ever feel like the rug was pulled out from under you and life knocks you down, yeah, that's kind of like been my default setting. So if you're finding yourself in a season where life just kind of took the rug out from under you and you feel like this pit in your stomach and you feel like you're naked and afraid and you don't know where to begin, yeah. So it's chaos. It's overwhelming. It can be really stressful. It can be scary. It can be depressing. It can be like life is over for you right now. And I want to tell you that this is all part of the journey. It's all part of the chapter that you're in and the season that you're in. And when we go through this crystal clear life process and the freedom formula and everything we do in the Crews Beyond Limits world, it's all here to show you that we're all on this journey of life. And it's so hard. And we're always being challenged. We're always especially being challenged, especially right when we're about to level up. It's almost like God knocks on your door and he goes, hang on, did you learn this lesson yet? Nope, you're not ready for that next level yet. You're going to sit down and we're going to take a little pause. Now, our body will cause us to pause and force us to pause if we don't pay attention to certain things and stressors and we don't actually give ourselves that pause and give ourselves that self-care and self-love that we truly desire and deserve. All right, so life is a series of lessons and blessings. I always say it's lessons and blessings, oh my, right? And so I know I shared, put your seatbelt on, it's a wild ride because it's like a roller coaster of life. It has its peaks and it has its valleys. And what goes up must come down. And as a marathon runner, I know that firsthand. In my 50-mile race, when I first ran, I ran one 50-mile race. Everyone's like, when's the next one? I'm like, nope, just one. Because the first 20 miles were on flat ground, right? And it was in Folsom, California, the American River 50. And the first 20 miles were on flat ground, right? And so there's gravel and like trails and bike paths and yeah, it seemed easy, right? And we're like, yeah, I got this. Now I trained for 6 months. 6 months. I was in a documentary, The Becoming Ultra Project. Go check that out. I can't wait. I haven't watched those, listened to those episodes. That was my first ever experience with a podcast. So that was pretty cool. I was on this podcast for 6 months. I got trained by the incredible Liza Howard. She's an ultra marathoner. This woman is a beast. And you think I'm a beast? This woman was incredible. And she coached me. But anyways, she coached me to be able to navigate the peaks and the valleys of this 50-mile race. And she helped me understand that my body is like a vehicle. And I trained for 6 months straight. And I documented my progress. I documented every single step, every single day. I did not miss a workout. And I was diligent in pursuit of making sure that I finished that 50-mile race healthy and happy and proud. And so like I was saying, I was going around 20 miles, I'm like, I got this, right? The last 30 miles were up mountains, my friends. Like I climbed boulders. I was like single lane trails, and I was scaling these mountains in California. And it was like cliff on the side. And if I took one step, or if I started to run sideways, I ran the Boston Marathon. I got really sick and I started running sideways. If I ran sideways on this race, on this mountain, I wouldn't be here to tell you this story right now because I would have been like, woo. All right. It would have been a free fall. All right. So anyways, life is like a series of peaks and valleys. And it's like you're climbing a mountain, and sometimes it might feel like you're running a 50-mile race. And some of y'all are like, I've heard it. Everyone on the internet is like, I don't even run 50 miles. How did you go that far? I'll tell you, it was a journey. And I only did one because I trained. I was diligent. I trained for 6 months through the Buffalo winters, my friend, in sleet, ice, snow, frigid temperatures. And I only did one run on the treadmill. One, I call it the dreadmill. For those of you runners out there, is like 1 mile on the treadmill is like a microwave minute. Like if you're ever cooking popcorn and you're like waiting, you're like staring at it. That's like a mile on the treadmill for the dreadmill for me. Okay, so only one workout was inside, but I was trained and ready to go. And I went straight, and sometimes in life, it's like, okay, we got 20 miles, we're cruising, we're like, yeah, we're good. And if we let our foot off the pedal and we're just comfy cozyville, guess what? It goes steep mountain, obstacle ahead, right? Boulders, you're going to climb some boulders. You want to get to that finish line? You're going to climb some boulders. And so when you get to the finish line of life, you have climbed so many boulders already. And you have gone through steep hills, and you have scaled mountains and almost maybe fallen off the cliff. But you're here. And you're here to tell that story. And you've made it through 100% of all of those moments when you thought maybe that it was done. And this chaos wasn't enough or was too much for you. And you wanted to stop. And you wanted to quit. And in the running community, it's called a DNF, did not finish. When you quit, it's called a DNF. It means you get pulled from the race. You don't get a qualifying time. You don't get a medal. You stop for whatever reason, right? Now, there are many reasons that people stop, that don't finish races, right? But this is the race of life. This is life's ultra marathon. So I ran 50 miles, right? And yes, I finished that race. All right. So it was the most epic experience. There's so many incredible moments in that race. My family was there to greet me, and they helped me every 5 miles. They gave me different checkpoints and helped me refuel my pack. They helped me eat Pringles and pretzels and ultra runners out there. If you shout yourself out, send me a message if you've run an ultra marathon, because I want to cheer you on. I've only run one, and I think that's going to be it, because it was the best experience ever. I got to eat Pringles and junk food, and which is so counterintuitive. But what I did learn about that whole process is that our body is like a vehicle, and it needs salt, it needs hydration, and we're like mad scientists with our bodies. So there's certain things that are going to give us good salt, quick sugar, things that are going to fuel us for the entire long race. Not everything is good for us. However, sometimes we have to do just enough at our checkpoints to get us through. All right. So when we think about our journey of life as an ultra marathon, I did finish that race. I finished it smiling and healthy. And I ended up winning the Spirit Award for the race, because I was trained, and I did every single step, and I did everything that my coach told me to, and I made through every single checkpoint, and I ate and did everything that I knew that I was supposed to do, and I finished that race in 9 hours and 8 minutes, 50 miles in 9 hours and 8 minutes. So that's 9 hours of my life where I ran nonstop. Yes, The only time I stopped was to change my shoes, eat Pringles, go to the bathroom, and fill my water pack. And I finished that race and I was so strong. Now, those last 3 miles, my friends, were up a mountain, a very steep one at that. The last 3 miles, just when you think you're like, oh, I'm almost done. Then there's another steep mountain. And I had to climb it. And I'll tell you, I had that American flag for the last 3 miles up this mountain. And I ran and I finished that race. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll share with you that picture of the finisher race. I share it often because it was such a proud moment of me actually showing up and taking every step for those 6 months and recognizing that it was a journey and it was a process and it was chaotic. The whole training process alone was chaotic for that victory lap of those 9 hours and 8 minutes to finish strong and healthy and be able to tell a story and create a legacy and show others what's possible. And I'll tell you, that American flag, it gave me purpose. It gave me strength when I didn't think I had it. It was something that was bigger than me to be able to carry that flag strong and powerfully and healthily across that finish line with a smile to earn that Spirit Award. So life is chaotic and it is a life of series of ups and downs and circles and twists and turns and all the things, right? There's so many times that I didn't have such a very nice, proud finish. And I know I've shared some of my story before. I started in the NFL in 2005, cheered for the Buffalo Bills. Go Bills, right? So I cheered. I made it. Now, my aunt had shown me what's possible because she was a cheerleader back in 93. When we were going to the Super Bowl back then. But we're going back every year. I have hope. We're going. It's happening. But anyways, back in 2005, we were as good. Anyways, my niece or my aunt showed me what was possible. Tried out for the NFL. I made it. 500 women tried out when I was trying out. They picked like 40 of us to be on the field. Super competitive. And I made it. And I went from NFL to wheelchair. I shopped for my first apartment in a wheelchair while they tried to figure out what was wrong with me. Turns out, I was in a toxic, abusive relationship. And my life was just, my body was shutting down. My nervous system was shutting down. It was breaking down because I wasn't taking my health and fitness seriously. And I was in a toxic, abusive, physically abusive relationship at the time. But more importantly, I was in a toxic, abusive relationship with myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't think I had worth. And I settled. And I didn't fuel my body properly. And yeah, I was in good shape, of course. I was working out 4 hours a day, checking in at the gym, practicing, traveling all over. And I was 22, right? Now I'm 40. I'm in better shape now than I was at 22. But back then, my entire body shut down and I was like, what's wrong with me? Life is being pulled from me. Everything is being ripped from me. It was there to teach me a lesson. And so I had to read. Back then in 2005, there wasn't the internet. There wasn't Dr. Google or Facebook to say, hey, I'm having this ailment. What do you think? Send me a message. I need help. Or all these groups. Back then, we didn't have that. We didn't even have social media. Everyone's like, oh, I want a picture of you when you were cheering. I'm like, well, I got to go through my Rolodex, my album, my photo album of the printed pictures, right? Some of y'all young kids out there, you're like, what the heck is that? We don't have photo albums. We have Facebook, right? And Snapchat. Okay, so we would go through the photo albums. But anyways, when I was cheering, I got ripped from everything. So from there, I was NFL cheerleader, starting my career in the military, finishing my undergrad, and I had a whole bright future ahead. But I wasn't taking care of my body, and I couldn't understand what was happening. And so I read Arthritis for Dummies. My mom bought me the book, that yellow and black book, anything for dummies, investing for dummies. My parents bought that, and that's how they learned how to build their empire and investing, And so that's how they knew, okay, you bought whatever for dummies. And there's like tons of books out there, anything for dummies. So I read Arthritis for Dummies. And in that book, I learned about the power of inflammation. I learned about nutrition, hydration, movement, recovery. What the heck was that? They didn't teach us that.
Yeah.
They also didn't teach us about mental health, getting therapy. Or they didn't even teach us about like, hey, how is your body image going to be impacted the rest of your life? Right? As you go through these rigorous routines and physique evaluations and solo performances and then group performances, and we had so much pressure to perform perfectly every single time, what that was going to do on our long-term sustainable health. Yes, I'm very proud of that. But it also came with some challenges too, right? Just like anything. And there's always lessons. And so I had to learn about what my body was actually doing and how the stress in my brain was manifesting itself physically in my body with pain, with inflammation. And it landed me in the wheelchair. And it almost ended my military career. So I learned about myself. I got therapy. I got out of that toxic relationship and I started fueling my body again. And I got off of all that medication, ended up staying in the military, right? And then I was moving on, all good. Then I met my husband. I was in the military. He's in the military. We met through an organization, Team Red, White, and Blue. And I was a veteran outreach director, and I created this event. We ended up meeting. And then he got orders to leave. And so when we moved away with like 2 months' notice, I had to resign my full-time position in the military and then go back to part-time, move away from my friends, my family, my home, everything I knew, to move away with the man of my dreams at the time, right? And so I had to put myself on the back burner and my career, and that was a decision that we made as a couple. But then moving to a new place, in a small town where I knew no one, I had to start over from scratch. And so that's insert the freedom formula of like, what do I need? When I'm stripped of everything again, if I was no longer going to be an athlete, I'm like, okay, well, what brains do I have? What experience do I have? What else can I do? And when I can't work out for an illness or an injury, I'm like, what else can I focus on? I need to focus on my mindset. I need to focus on my nutrition. I need to focus on my sleep and the things that are going to keep me mentally sane and clear and confident if I can't move my body. And there's been plenty of times in my life when I haven't been able to do that. So when you're stripped of something, maybe you have an injury right now. Maybe you broke your ankle, or maybe you have shin splints or plantar fasciitis or like Achilles issues, or you broke your wrist, or you have a shoulder injury, or something happened that's derailing you, or maybe you got an illness or diagnosis. That's not the end of the story. There's so much more to you that you get to focus on. And every time, I swear, every single time something has derailed me, something has sidelined me, whether it be an illness, an injury, or a diagnosis, or a betrayal, there is always a lesson and there's always a blessing. So keep going, my friends. Always, always keep going, no matter what, and find the lesson. And sometimes we just have to sit, get back to basics, use the freedom formula, right? And it's not that easy. It's easier said than done. Because when you're in the midst of it, when you're in this chaos, we have to make some sense of it and figure out, okay, what can I do with what I've got? And another thing that's helped me is the serenity prayer. Focus on the things that you can control. And that's how we respond. That's our hydration. That's our movement, what we can do. Maybe we modify. Maybe we do just upper body exercises if we have lower body injuries, and vice versa. And if you can't move at all, like the time I got diagnosed with cancer and I had to have surgery on my arm and my leg at the same time, 6 months I couldn't work out. I could not move, or else my scars and my stitches would bust open. I had like stuffed sausage. I'm a small human. So when this wide excision is so large here, I couldn't, if I moved the wrong way, it would bust open. That'd be pretty gnarly, pretty nasty. So I couldn't move. So what did I have to focus on? What did I have? I had my mental health, right? I had to focus on my mental health. How do I do that? I had to focus on my nutrition, my hydration, my sleep, So that's all my mindset and my fitness, but also who is in my corner, my community. So the answer always is, what can you do with what you've got right now? Because this isn't over. This is just a season. And so when you think about what can you control in your mindset, all right? Do we need to get help? Do we need to get coached? Do we need to get therapy? Your mindset matters always. And then your fitness, your mental and your physical fitness, your overall holistic wellness. It's a mind, body, spirit. Everything is connected. And if you lose one part of you, I always say it's like all of these 8 pillars. I do vision board workshops too. So I have one coming up. I do it every quarter. So by the time this airs, I think I'll probably have 2 by then. But anyways, once a quarter, send me a message if you want access to that, to the next one. But it's a 2-hour Zoom call where we go through the 8 pillars of your life. And if you had one part of your life, we're trying to balance all these different buckets, right? If you had one part of your life that's like sucked dry, it's not full, or you're not paying attention to it, it's going to throw everything else off. As if you had like a tire, right, on your car. I always say the body's like a vehicle. You got 4 tires, right? If you're not paying attention, we have four non-negotiables: sleep, hydration, movement, and nutrition. Those are your 4 tires. How's your car going to drive with one flat tire? Dun dun dun, right? Dun sounds like dead end, dead end, dead end. You're going to keep hitting a wall, right? So you got to think about, okay, what can I do with what I've got in these seasons? What tools do I have in my tool belt? What do I need to take action, right? And so this is the resilience recipe that brings the freedom and the clarity from chaos to clarity. And so I'm on a mission to help empower you to put yourself and your health first for 34 minutes a day. So we do this reflection. We do this movement. We set intentions for each and every day. And it starts with gratitude. It starts with your mindset. And then it starts with planning it out and scheduling the things that are important, the priorities that are going to help move you forward with what you've got, despite whatever is going on in your life. So I shared a little bit about when I was diagnosed with cancer. I was diagnosed in 2019, just before COVID. And at that time, most people's 2020 was like a dumpster fire, right? It was challenging, it sucked. That was my 2019. That whole year was like off the calendar. It was an outer body experience. But once again, what I realized now in current day, because I study this, I study the brain, I study trauma in the brain, I study how it manifests in our body. And I've unfortunately lived through many, many things where all of the stress and the trauma and everything was manifesting itself in my body in the form of cancer, inflammation, autoimmune. Okay, so this is the power of mindset, your wellness, and getting into community. We are not meant to do life alone. So when we isolate and we're in this chaos, it's going to harbor in our body if we let it. Okay? So really recognize, where in your life are you feeling chaotic? And how can we make sure that we're topped off? So open up the hood, check the oil, check the engine, give it a rest. I had an experience in Puerto Rico a couple months ago in our book writing retreat where Gigi, my 1999 Nissan minivan, she decided to take a poop on the side of the road. Not literally, but we were going up a mountain and she was going nowhere fast. And that was a scary one. Definitely, I'll share that story in another podcast. But I know Marcus Black did one on his Vitality podcast, so definitely tune into that. Whew, it was an experience. I'm sweating just thinking about it. Right? So we had to pull over. Well, actually, we had to back up into a pole because we were about to crash, but that's a whole nother story. Anyways, we had to back up. We had to open up the hood, check the oil, check the engine, let her cool down for a hot minute. Well, the tow truck came to come get us. And we had a little picnic on the side. We took care of it. We got in community. And it was chaotic, my friends. Right? But it's like we were all grateful to be alive. Everything was good. We're healthy. We had snacks. We had water. And we gave it a rest. And we pivoted and we turned a chaotic moment into a beautiful experience. And that is the system, my friends, is like, how can you create? And even, I'll never forget. After this moment, we all just looked at each other. We're like, this is going to be part of the story. And every single time that life gets thrown from you or a rug gets pulled out from under you, it's like, all right, put your seatbelt on. It's a wild ride. This is part of the story. And you are made for more, my friends. And so you've made it through 100% of everything that you've been through, just like me. And I know that when I started my business 7 years ago almost, I'm going to celebrate on November 1st, 2024. It'll be 7 years. I wrote down in my journal every single day that I will live 10 steps from the ocean. That's peace. That's freedom. And I put that out into the universe and I told everyone, and I wrote it down every single day. And that was my guiding light. And that's exactly what happened. Because the latest hardship, when the rug got taken from under me, is the man of my dreams that I met 10 years ago experienced the most ultimate betrayal 5 days before our wedding anniversary. And so I put out to the universe that I'm going to live 10 steps from the ocean. We were building an empire. We were building a life together. And that's what we were going for, my friends. And that was the story that I told. And we were living the dream, traveling all over, building our empire, building our careers, living life, entrepreneurs. And then one day, poof, it's over. As he walked out of that house with 2 suitcases. And I moved my butt to the beaches of Puerto Rico because I said, which beach is it going to be? I said I was going to live 10 steps from the ocean. And so I share this with you because I've been through it. I've been through so much. And this freedom formula and the everything that I teach you, everything that I share, it comes from a depth of experience and a journey of lessons and blessings and mountains that I've climbed and boulders that I've just had to blood, sweat, and tears. And there's been some times when it's like, flat ground and you're like, life is good. That's when it gets scary because it's like, life seems a little bit too good. Something's going to challenge us. Always, always, always. And so I moved to the beaches of Puerto Rico 6 months ago. As of this recording, I moved there with 10 suitcases the week before Christmas. And I have not missed a meal. I have not missed a call. I have not missed a nap. And I give myself the gift of everything that I need to learn the lessons and blessings. Oh my, there are so many of them. And life, this chapter, this season, it's a season. And this chapter is coming to a close. But there is an even better one ahead. There is an even brighter one ahead. And that brings it brings so much more depth to this freedom formula because this is the true freedom. Now I get to be all of me. And you get to be all of you too. And so I want to give you this lens to give you just a snapshot into why I'm here to give you this message. I am in pursuit to help you shorten that time period of self-doubt and overwhelm and turn that chaos into clarity for that next level version of you, no matter what illness, injury, you name it, I've pretty much been through it. Not in the way that you have, but I'm here to meet you where you're at. And I'm here to listen, I'm here to help you move and ignite your fire again. You get to design the life that you desire. So it starts with mapping it out. It starts with getting your mindset right, getting clear, getting confident, getting back to basics and figuring out what can I do with what I've got? What are my values? How am I going to stay in my own power, unshakable, unbreakable? And maybe that's moving out of your hometown. And maybe that's moving out of the toxic relationships. Maybe that's saying yes to things that you need to say yes to. And maybe that's saying no to the things that are not serving you anymore. Whew. That's freedom, my friends. That's how we're going to be able to get from chaos to clarity. I always say the work works when you do the work, and it's a combination of things, and we do it courageously. We do it scared. We do it anyways. But that's why our mindset and our mental clarity is so important, because we know that we're going to be challenged. We know that change is inevitable. And if you don't know that, you're naive, or you can't be living under a rock or these boulders or being afraid to get out and live life and be open and vulnerable and be ready for that change. Get ready for those lessons and blessings. Now I'm like, that's why I say, put your seatbelt on. It's a wild ride, because I'm ready for it. It's like, okay, what's next? I'm stronger, I'm fitter, I'm faster, I'm 40, and I'm fabulous. And I'm here for it. And I am stronger, I'm more resilient, I have more grit, I have more wit than I did at 22 when I was an NFL cheerleader. So game on, and I feel like I'm just getting started, my friends. So we're just getting started with the Krystal Clear Life Podcast. I'll tell you, put your seatbelt on, it's a wild ride, and I mean it. Because life is a series of mountains and peaks and valleys and twists and turns, and we're here for it all. But that's why our mindset, our holistic wellness, our non-negotiables, knowing who we are, getting back to the basics, using these tools is going to help prepare you. It's the preventative I always say it's your preventative medicine, your preventative maintenance, to make sure that we are staying true to ourselves, staying in our power, so we're unshakable, unbreakable, unstoppable. And how else do we do that? We got to get in community. So your mindset, your fitness, and your community matters. So who you surround yourself with. They always say, and I forgot who said it, you are the combination of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. Right? So make it good. We have 1,440 minutes in a day. We got to prioritize, make sure we're around the right people that are fueling us forward, that are helping us. Maybe be part of your pit crew, right? So your body's a vehicle. You got to pull over. You got to hang out with your pit crew. They're like, yep, okay, we'll check the oil. We got to do this. A side note, in Puerto Rico, when this all happened on the mountain, I had a pit crew. I had an engineer that he's like doing all this electrical stuff. I had no idea, right? Doing all this stuff. One guy, Marcus, is like, hey, let's put some water in here. Let's do this. Let's do that. Someone else over here, Sandra's like, let's get some snacks. Let's set up a blanket. And then we got a massage therapist. We have and everyone's a believer, which is great. We prayed. And we turned that chaotic moment into a beautiful blessing. And we came together in those moments, in the hard times, in the chaos. And being in the military for the last 22 years, I just retired. We went through some hard things. Teams were built and camaraderie was built and relationships were forged in the fires. They were forged in the hard times. The times it got messy, it got grit. It got gritty, whatever, muddy, dirty, whatever. I'm merging words now. That's what I always do. So I make words up. So this is no fancy studio here, right? So you get all of me. So in community, we get to bring all of us and all the messy parts. And we get to step into our gifts to do this together, to build a community where we get to do it messy. We get to show up no matter what. Like our life depends on it, because it does. Thank you so much, my friends. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to share and like this podcast. Share this with someone who needs this Cruise Beyond Limits message, that needs to be elevated, that needs to put themselves in the driver's seat, 10 and 2, or maybe needs a pit crew. If you need a pit crew, definitely send me a message. We'll help you. We'll help you check the oil. We'll help you figure out. We'll do a diagnostic. We'll figure out what this means for you, so you can get back on the road, pedal to the metal, in the left lane, designing the life that you desire. You're worthy of it, my friends. So keep going. Like your life depends on it, because it does. Cheers.